Hi, thanks for joining me in the Listen Up Girl podcast. This is your daily LGBTQ plus news podcast. I'm your host, Zach Reynolds-Friedman, bringing you news for Tuesday, August the 11th. We're going global today, and then we're going to stop with a story right here in the United States. 6 stories, 6 different fights, one thread running through all of them. Who gets counted, who gets criminalized, and who gets believed. Let's get right into it, starting with Australia counts as queer people for the first time. We start with a milestone today. Today, Australia's national census includes a question on sexual orientation and gender identity for the first time in the country's history. The questions were actually dropped from the 2024 census after officials called them divisive. But Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's government reversed course, and starting today, anyone 16 or older filling out the census can identify as straight, gay, bisexual, or write in their own term. And separately, note if their gender differs from their birth at sex. Both questions are optional. This isn't a box to check. Nearly 28 million people take this census, and it's mandatory. Miss it, and you can be fined. Chief Statistician David Gurn said it plainly. For a lot of people, being counted matters enormously. For others, it's information they don't want to share. Both are being respected here. Demographicer Liz Allen called it monumental, not just for the data, but for the signal it sends. The queer Australians count, and they matter. When governments decide how to fund healthcare, mental health services, and housing, they use numbers like these. For the first time, LGBTQ plus Australians will actually be in them. Love that. Now we go to Senegal's crackdown hits 71 arrests. So over to West Africa, where Senegal's escalating crackdown on LGBTQ plus people just crossed a grim threshold. As of last week, 71 people have been arrested and charged with unnatural acts since the country toughened its anti-gay law back in March. That law doubled the maximum penalty for same-sex acts from 5 years to 10, and it added new prison time from 3 to 7 years for anyone found to be promoting or financing homosexuality. In April, a 24-year-old man became the first conviction sentenced to 6 years and a fine for acts against nature. A Human Rights Watch researcher described the current climate in Senegal as one of constant fear and had said arrests have intensified specifically because the state apparatus is now backing them. Some of them arrested this round have been local celebrities, with a few also facing and then having dropped accusation of deliberately transmitting HIV. It's so sad to see LGBTQ plus people being treated this way and living in fear. I hate it. Next, British tennis shuts out trans women. So over in the UK, British tennis has announced a full ban on trans women competing in competitive female matches at every level of the sport. The policy means trans women are now excluded from the British tennis women's competitions entirely. No exceptions built in for hormone therapy, no case-by-case review. It's part of a broader pattern across the UK sports this year as one governing body after another moves to blanket bans rather than individualized policies. Advocates have pointed out that these bans routinely get imposed without evidence of any actual competitive issue at the recreational or amateur level where the vast majority of players compete. And we're staying in the UK where a UK broadcaster finally faces consequences. So Ofcom has officially launched an investigation into GB News a full month after a guest on the network linked Pride-pedophilia on live television. Back on July 5th, contributor Carolyn Farrow, a Catholic journalist affiliated with the anti-LGBTQ group Citizen Go, told host Alex Armstrong that Pride has been about celebrating every single sexuality that isn't heterosexual, including some very bizarre and unhealthy kinks. Minor attracted people, pedophiles. A fellow guest immediately pushed back, and Armstrong himself called the comments an age-old gay trope, and he fundamentally rejects. The moment drew more than 12,000 comments to Ofcom, a new record for the GB News show. It's taken a month of the tour, but the regulator is finally investigating. We'll be watching to see if anything actually comes of it. And now we come back to the United States when MAGA bot army targets trans gun owners. A federal proposal that would require trans people to list their sex assigned at birth on all paperwork and buying a gun just got caught in a fake comment scandal. The measure introduced by the ATF initially drew a wave of public comments criticizing it as blatantly unconstitutional. Then, as the comment period wound down in late July, the volume spiked, nearly doubling, and suddenly most of the new comments were glowing supportive. An investigation by Assigned Media found 96% of them showed signs of being machine generated, a coordinated bot campaign dressed up to look like a grassroots support. Even a cybersecurity expert who studies this stuff called it clumsy. If I wanted to screw up, it wouldn't be this bad. Even some gun rights groups are furious, saying it's a scare tactic aimed at keeping trans people from exercising their Second Amendment rights. Whoever's behind it, it's a reminder that the fight over trans rights is now being fought in comment sections too, and not always by real people. And then let's go back to Senegal. But wait, let me redirect us to close on something with a little momentum. We'll end today on the sports beat, watching how single-sex policy fights keep spreading from country to country, sport to sport, and it's not slowing down either. And neither are we. That is the show for Tuesday, August 11th. 6 stories, 3 continents, 1 very persistent thread. If this show matters to you, follow the Listen Up Girl podcast wherever you listen. Leave a rating and review, and then share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Find me on Instagram and YouTube at The Real Zachary, and I'll be back tomorrow with more LGBTQ news. Thanks for listening.